Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the NAWLA regional meeting hosted at the Montreal Wood Convention. I'm Morgan Wellens, the Export Sales Manager at Nicholson & Kpis Forest Products. For those of you that don't know, Nicholson & Kpis is a wholesaler, distributor, and remanufacturer headquartered in Burlington, Ontario, with over 140 long-standing employees. On behalf of everybody here at Nicholson & Kpis, NAWLA, and the Montreal Wood Convention, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and we hope you enjoy the presentation. Please note that this meeting is being held in compliance with the NAWLA antitrust guidelines. Now moving on to our national sponsors. So a sincere thank you to all of the national sponsors for the 2019 regional meetings. We're grateful for the contributions of BPD Merchant Magazine, Interfor, Weeks Forest Products, Blue Book Services, and DMSI. At this point, we ask that if there are any representatives in the crowd from any of our national sponsors to stand. Thank you. On the regional level, we are grateful for the sponsorship from our main event sponsor, Nicholson & Kpis, and our regional meeting sponsors, Falcon Lumber, Sherwood Lumber, and Tega Building Products. Now over to my partner, Jeff, to introduce today's program.
Thank you, Morgan. Good afternoon and welcome to the NAWLA regional meeting. I'm Jeff Leach. I'm a sales manager and purchasing manager at Nicholson & Kpis, and I've been with Nicholson & Kpis for almost 16 years. Morgan and I want to thank you for coming to check this event out. Ladies and gentlemen, please silence your phones and get ready. Nicholson & Kpis is proud to present these 8 industry leaders here to share their knowledge and wisdom in a way you may never have heard before. A letter to your younger lumber self.
I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger.
That Rod Stewart song repeats, I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger. Imagine if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are privileged to have these 8 elite members of our industry who have experienced the trials and tribulations of the lumber business. They have enjoyed good times and they've survived the bad times. They have risen to become managers, presidents, vice presidents, directors, and executive directors. Morgan and I have asked them to compose that letter to their younger self and share it with you today. The order of presentation has already been determined, and up first is Christian Provo. Christian Provo may look familiar to you if you attended this NAWLA regional meeting here last year. Chris moderated our panel last year and did a great job. Chris is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Boscus Canada in Montreal, Quebec. Founded in 1981, Boscus is a well-established organization operating in the lumber industry as a wholesaler, distributor, and international broker. Chris was born and raised on the South Shore of Montreal. He currently lives in Montreal with his wife and 2 children. Educationally, Chris has several initials after his name, MBA, CMA, and CPA. Chris began his career at Boscus almost 20 years ago. 2018 was quite the stressful year for Chris, and 2019 has been no less stressful to start. I'm sure the fact that Chris is a runner can help him de-stress when he needs it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a letter from Chris Provo to his younger self.
I should have zoomed in on that picture before I sent it. Nice white socks. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I would like to congratulate NAWLA, but mostly you guys for organizing this event. Boscus did it last year. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you. I guess we didn't sell enough wood to Nicholson & Kpis. That's why I get to go first. That's a reward. Yeah, no. So I also know it's very important and rewarding, especially for the wholesale community, with the recent consolidation on the production side and the new technologies emerging. I sense some headwinds in front of us for us wholesalers. Therefore, it's very important that we, the wholesale community, forms a united front. I believe such events are helping us to be better at what we do. I must say that the letter to my younger self, I was just discussing it prior to coming here with Hugo, kind of sounded a bit silly at first, but really, I discovered it can be a very meaningful process. I think you all should do that when you go back home. But also, hopefully, more for our younger colleagues. So, here I go. Dear Christian, you just finished university. That time, I guess I was about 21, 22 years old. Just got your CPA title. You have a new girlfriend and you have a new job as an accountant. Hence the letters you mentioned. You are traveling through Greece thinking you are on top of the world, a couple years short from becoming the CEO of a multinational company. That's thanks to university. That's kind of how you feel when it's like you're 2 years. So you've also been telling everyone, you know, that the only two things you will never do are HR and sales. It's the truth. That's why I picked accounting. Unfortunately, I discovered I sucked at accounting. So Chris, unfortunately, you have it all wrong, except for the girlfriend. You will end up working in a small company, not doing accounting, but HR and sales all day long. The reason being that contrary to what you learned in school, business is all about dealing with humans, with your boss, probably the most important dealings, colleagues, employees, suppliers, customers, even the taxman. It's all about dealing with human beings and getting the best out of it. People skills are way more important than any other skills. Business is before everything about dealing with other human beings, and there are 7.7 billion others to deal with, so that's a lot of work. Sales. I mean, if you had told me back then that I would be in sales, I would have never believed it. Almost everything in business and life is connected to sales. This is what I've learned so far. You need to sell yourself to get a job or a raise. You need to sell your ideas to others, which is much better, actually, selling or seducing others into agreeing to your ideas than forcing them, like we see in some movies. You need to sell the idea to your vendors and customers that they need you. You may want to include your girlfriend in that group, actually. It is your people and sales skills combined with your leadership that will take you to the top, not your ability to add numbers. By the way, in school, you've learned that multiplying two negative numbers gives a positive. Well, in real life, you can try to multiply as many losses as you want. They will never turn into positive. Especially learned that last fall. Few words specific to the lumber industry. To be successful, always remember the tombstone rule. So that's why I've asked them to put it there. So it doesn't stand RIP, is not rest in peace, but more relationship, information, and patience. Relationship. As I mentioned earlier, you are dealing with humans. The only way to be successful and last in our business is by building relationships. These will be the foundation of your business plan and will help you make it through tough times. FYI. Unfortunately, you cannot build real strong relationship with emails or pics of you and your buddies getting drunk on Instagram. Be smart, be real. I guess I've added Instagram. Back then, Instagram wasn't a big concern. Information. Information is power. Using all available means, collect as much information as you can before you make a move. Again, that is what you need. That is why you need relationships. But be very, very, very careful. You need to learn the difference between information and opinions. Sometimes I feel opinions are the true commodity in our industry. They should be traded on the CME. They would be very liquid. The last one, but not the least, patience. This is something I was really lacking back then. Unfortunately, as smart as you can be, brain will never replace experience, which is a direct function of time. It takes time to learn the business. It takes time to build relationships. It takes time to be able to properly process information. Just accept it. There is no other way. The good news is you have about 40 years left before retirement, so do not worry about time. Couple more things related to the lumber business. Do not confuse the lumber future screen with the weather channel. The red number does not necessarily mean that the market is going down. The reverse is also true. If Western base 2x4 is below 400, buy. If Western base 2x4 is above 600, don't buy. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your convention.
Thank you, Chris. That was great. I wasn't sure where you were going to go with the tombstone, and that was very interesting. Our next speaker today is Jim Dermody. Jim is the president of Seaboard International Forest Products based in Nashua, New Hampshire. Seaboard has over 30 traders supplying 2,000 customers globally with over 1 billion board feet of lumber. Jim was born and raised in the greater Boston area. He graduated from the University of New Hampshire with a degree in sociology and criminal justice. From university, Jim joined Seaboard as a trader's assistant and worked his way up to become president, a position he's held for the past decade. Jim sits on the Forest City Trading Group's board of directors, and he was recently named to the NAWLA board of directors. Jim and his wife have 3 children. He has a passion for playing hockey, and he also takes great pride in being a coach within the Eastern Hockey Federation. Ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky to have Jim Dermody here today to read his letter to his younger self.
That's definitely my younger self there. Jeez. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today at the NAWLA Montreal Regional Meeting. And I join Chris in thanking Nicholson and Kpis for putting this on and sponsoring it. You know, I was first approached to share some comments around the topic of a letter to your younger self. I immediately thought, wait a minute, I'm not old, and I'm still my younger self. I might have a bit of weathering around the edges, like a forgotten unit of 2x4, but still feel young. But it's been 25 quick years since I began my career after graduating from college, studying what I think are 2 essential areas needed for this business: sociology and criminal justice. Both concentrations encompass the themes of people, communication, motivations, resolutions, and in some cases, restitution. And it turns out it's prepared me well to be amongst this group. So my letter: Dear Jim, take French instead of Italian. I have grandparents on one side from Canada and the other side from Ireland. And you will not travel to Italy in the next 25 years. You will, however, go to a place in the Great White North known as Lake St. John, where knowing French will come in handy. It will help you avoid having to go to the McDonald's in Roberval for every meal, where the only difference in your ordering process is how many fingers you hold up. And true story, that meal the meal deal menu was a godsend as a 21-year-old starting out in this business. Beside the point, the French you will learn early on in your career from the helpful Quebec lumberman should not be repeated in public. And if you thought the planes that fly out of Manchester Airport were small, wait until you see the minivan with wings that flies you up to Lake St. John. And then once you get there and you think you're in the middle of nowhere, take a look at that street sign that indicates Chapay and Chibougamau are 3 hours further away. That was truly an eye-opener. Yes, you are quite fortunate to have the opportunity to start your lumber career closer to civilization. And you're about to learn that age does not equal maturity. So do not fear the fact that you look like a 15-year-old and that you don't know how to act like a professional in the working world. Lumbermen have their own version of professionalism, especially on trading floors. You'll be fine. Lumbermen and women are a diverse mix of unique people, great people. Stereotypes are fictional, and few things are truly typical. So have an open mind and be a sponge. You'll be surrounded by some of the absolute best in the business. Measure twice and cut once is an adage that Dad used to say, and you rolled your eyes. Well, you'll learn the cost of those eye rolls when you send up those trim changes to the mill. That was to Barvey, actually, I remember that happened. And the cars arrive to the customer. You will then find out just how expensive the difference is between 94 1/8 and 94 1/4. And no, there is no such thing as a lumber stretcher. Pre-drilled studs and angle-cut lumber are Canadian innovations developed to toy with the politicians that will bring the words duty and tariff into your vocabulary. Learn to appreciate the Canadian sense of humor. Never burn a bridge is another adage Dad used to say. And there's a cyclicality to the lumber markets. Same cycle exists for mill salesmen. Same guy, new year, different mill. Hence the bridge burning piece he was talking about. Be grateful they remain in the industry. They will teach you much about life, not just lumber. Some will get you out of the bar at just the right time, and others will become close friends and even attend your wedding. I can't believe Jen said yes either. Learn as much as you can about the entire supply chain and know the value of each piece of that chain. Respect all of its members. While you'll develop a strong sense of value in what you do, recognize that others may have a different perspective. Be respectful, but steadfast in what you believe. Much of what you do will be about opportunity. Be grateful to those who open doors for you, as they have plenty of alternatives. And if you truly have value, you will fit into their plans. You may need to be more persistent with some than others, but that's okay. And it won't always be about right and wrong. So embrace the philosophy of live to fight another day. Remember that personal and professional integrity must never be compromised, as a good reputation takes years to earn and minutes to lose. And recognizing your piece of the channel, all you have is people. So spend time finding the right people, those that you will be proud to call coworkers, sincere, hard workers with a good sense of humor, that know the value of a dollar, that embrace partnership in its true sense. And when you have a hard day in the wholesale world, remember the conversation you had with that forklift driver in St. Felicien during that balmy February day in 1995. Well, you won't understand what he was actually saying, but you'll remember the feeling you took away. You've got it pretty good on the scale of tough jobs in the lumber business. So laugh more. Levity's great medicine for the mind. Oh, one more thing, and I know you'll think this is crazy since they just finished last season at 2-14, but you'll probably want to buy Patriots season tickets now. And make sure they don't trade away their 6th-round pick in the 2000 draft. Thank you.
Jim, that was great, thank you. And certainly it is true that you do need to listen to your parents, and I guess they teach you a lot more than we ever think until we get up there. Anyway, our next guest is Kevin Miriam. Kevin is the Executive Director of the Maritime Lumber Bureau and has been with the association now for over 20 years. The MLB is based in Fort Lawrence, Nova Scotia, and represents lumber producers throughout Eastern Canada. In university, Kevin started his studies in computer science, later changing his focus to forestry. Kevin is married and has 3 teenage children. One of them, I believe, is here with us today. He enjoys woodworking. He builds cedar strip kayaks, and he's currently working on rebuilding a 1967 Chevy Nova. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kevin Miriam.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate the invite. I must say this was an interesting exercise to undertake, and I would say that if you ever get the chance to be invited to do something like this and to sit down and write a letter to yourself, it's an interesting exercise to do. It really is. And when at first you will wonder, how you're going to start this thing, and then by the time you get rolling on it, you won't want to stop, because you kind of get into the role and you figure that you have a whole lot to say about guiding yourself and looking at various options for yourself in the future as a youngster. So I might have went back a few too many years there. That's a few years ago. But anyway, I did this a little bit more on a generic level. And these are more guiding principles, I guess, to myself as a youngster, that I hope that maybe some of these principles may serve and may guide some of the other people in this room. And I will say that right quickly before I continue on, I do have my oldest boy with me, Nathan. It's his birthday today. I love you, buddy. Happy birthday. So, here we go. Dear younger Kevin, I'm writing this letter to you in hopes you will read it carefully. Absorb what you can and just trust that what you read in the upcoming paragraphs come from experience and lessons learned, sometimes the hard way. I just know that I would never steer you wrong and would never give you advice that wasn't valuable or a lesson in life. We may as well start with the most important thing, family. The things you take for granted now will someday become the things that you think about on a regular basis and wish that you could go back in time and to be there again. For example, when your grandparents want to take you out for supper just because they want to spend time with you, go. They love you and think of ways each day to be around you. Your friends can handle a day here or there without you. Nothing is more important than quality time with your family. Absolutely nothing. The family picnics with aunts, uncles, parents, and grandparents that you think are a bit lame will one day be some of the fondest memories you will ever have. Enjoy every hug and kiss from them. Nobody on this planet loves you more than they do. Also, try to be nice to your brother if you can. I know it's a tall order, but you realize it or not, he looks up to you and enjoys being around his big brother. Focus your time and energy on your true friends. Don't spend time trying to be the person to impress the popular crowd. You will have so many laughs and lifelong priceless memories with your true friends that you cannot get with superficial friends. Your friends are a blessing in your life, and don't ever take that for granted. They're more important than you can ever imagine. Work hard on your education and follow your interests. It's a confusing time in your life when the weight of a career choice and the post-secondary education falls on your shoulders, but trust me, it all has a way of falling into place. At times it will seem like every choice is the wrong one and your dreams of a rewarding education and a career are fading away, but stay steadfast and strong. One day it will become clear and you will work like hell to get there, making friends and having fun along the way. Don't rush this part of your life. Some of the best memories you will ever have come from the time when you spent in university and college. Keep the good times in check, though. Skipping 8:30 university math classes the next morning because you had too much fun the night before is not a good practice and will inevitably lead to a one-on-one sit-down reprimand from your professor urging you to get your act together. Not that I would know much about that, but it happened. It did happen. Whatever stage of your career you are in, whether it be your education or your job, help others succeed. You have been asked and are in a position to, if you are been asked and are in a position to assist an acquaintance, friend, or colleague to help them better understand a function of their work or to lend a helping hand, you should do so with caution. Assess the situation and do what you can to assist, should there be a much better chance of helping them than of hindering yourself. Unfortunately, in this world, some people have an agenda and would like nothing more to bring others down while propping themselves up. Proceed with caution. Find mentors and learn from them. In your life, you meet people who are so amazingly smart and have a genuine interest in seeing you succeed. They will help you see things in a different way and will offer their advice when it is in agreement, whether it is in agreement with you or not. Trust their wisdom. They are truly a gift. Strive to become a leader and in doing so, lead by example. Be the person who has no fear of getting in there and getting their hands dirty, and never ask somebody to do something that you would not do yourself. Work is important, but so is your personal time. Once in a while, take a day and do something just for you. You know what your interests and passions are, so take some time and enjoy them. A day here and there enjoying something that is of interest to you is not selfish. It is necessary, and will do amazing things for uplifting your mood, clearing your mind, and of the clutter that oftentimes bogs us down. Cherish the simple things. With each passing year, you will see that technology and access to information will progress at a blistering speed. The technology that is intended to make life easier and more socially interconnected will sometimes have the unintentional end result of making things more complicated and harder. You will sometimes wish that the only technology at your disposal is a rotary telephone on the wall and 3 channels on the TV. But I will leave you with this. Whatever choice you make in life, make it with your best intentions in mind. If you try something and fail miserably, learn from it and move along. You are going to fail, and the pain of failure is very real, and without sugarcoating it, it really sucks. However, I think that the emotion and lasting memories from failure is simply a tool to help us become that much closer to success the next time. Feel the emotions, keep the memories, use the tools, and persevere. You are smart and capable. You will be placed in situations which are so beyond your comfort zone that the very thought of tackling that project or taking on that new role or speaking in front of that crowd will have you questioning your abilities and teetering on the edge of a panic attack. But what I am asking you to do is feel that fear and do it anyway. The reward for pushing through and tackling the challenge will be far better than you ever thought possible. I promise you that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. That was some amazing advice. Our next speaker is Francois Gagné. Francois is the Business Development Manager for Dimension Transport, a large trucking company based in the Lake St. John area of Quebec. Francois was born and raised in St. Bruno near Quebec City. He has a degree in international trade. Francois is the father of 4 children, ranging in age from 9 to 23. Francois began honing his lumber skills and knowledge in 1999, selling softwood and hardwood and learning both wholesaling and remanufacturing. In 2009, he turned his attention to servicing the lumber industry and many other industries via the transportation business. He has been with Dimension Transport for 3 years. Francois' ambition to help people has inspired him to learn how to be a life coach. He would also be considered quite the expert amateur chef and griller. In fact, one of his best friends is his Big Joe barbecue. Ladies and gentlemen, sit back and enjoy Francois' letter to his younger self.
I'd like to thank NAWLA and Nicholson and Kpis for inviting me to do this. I know I've been a long time away from the lumber business as a trader, but I know and see what the Quebec guys do because a lot of their lumber is going on our trucks, and we're pleased to have you as customers. So here we go. Francois, in a couple of months from now, in a couple of months from your present situation, life will lead you to a phone conversation with a lumber trader from Ontario. Your inexperience will make you feel a little uncomfortable around him at first. That man's name will be Jeff Leach. Let that discomfort go because he'll become a good friend, and in 20 years from now, he'll surprise us with a special gift. He will ask me to write a letter to my younger self. Although it looked easy at first glance, the first drafts made it to the recycle bin. There were in some ways a lecturing from a father to his son with advice and some reprimands, stuff I know you would not listen to. I also realized that if I altered my past, my present life might not look exactly the way it is right now. I'm grateful and thankful in how we went through this journey, and trust me, we end up at 45 very, very happy. Keep going. We were eager, to get out of school and into work to show the world we could hold our hand. We jumped right in without a plan and without any clear goals. A famous coach named Anthony Robbins says, "Failing to plan is planning to fail." And that's exactly what we did. In our early 20s, we thought older people were just old and did not understand what we were experiencing. So even if we had met Mr. Robbins in the flesh, there is very little chance we would have applied his wisdom. So we went on in life trying to avoid problems and afraid of making mistakes. We felt it was our turn and our time. The only problem we had, we led life like a pinball, wandering wherever we'd be pushed towards. We had some major skills in persuading people and rallying them to our ideas. Eventually, we got so good at it, we could even convince ourselves of something that was either very unlikely to turn out well or believe our own lies. We both know that we made mistakes, covered them up with more mistakes, and sometimes worse mistakes and lies, and inevitably, problems showed up. To make things even worse, we blamed others for our problems, the ones we caused in the first place. Remember this, the problems you do not address eventually reappear in a stronger version of themselves. You will see for yourself. Here comes the first piece of advice I feel is important, both professionally and personally. Accept responsibility for what happens in your life. That's the only way you'll find solutions and eventually peace. For instance, and this is very basic in my lumber experience, very early, misleading information grew into a claim and then into the losing of some business from a customer. We got upset with the customer for the loss of the business, but it was like barking up the wrong tree. It was our fault in the first place. So please, do not worry. We're only getting familiar with this responsibility principle in our 40s. Keep going. Problems will show up for us. They'll have names like divorce, depression, addiction, and bankruptcy. There will be tough times. Times when we will feel humiliated by our own acts and wondering what this is all for. Times when we will consider that the world might be a better place without us, or that we don't have what it takes to make it. You see, it feels as if we were trained to hate and avoid problems. As they appear, they seem to trigger something very unpleasant in our brain, logging us in some sort of survival mode, causing stress and anticipation. Later on in life, in the very welcome process of stopping that spinning wheel, we'll be asked, what would you rather be? Or, what would you rather have? And this, my young self, will be the first time we pause and reflect on what we want from this life. Talking from experience, these monstrous problems eventually become, once addressed, one of our most powerful assets, experience. They lead us to define ourselves and identify our core values. My second advice would be to start welcoming problems that show up and address them with responsibility. Seek to find the positive intentions of these events. Try to picture problems as ways life has to prepare you for what's next. Easier said than done, I admit. And when right in the middle of a crisis or anger or any unpleasant situation, we would curse the messenger giving it. But when things settle down and when they have been looked after and we have time to look back at the situation calmly, we now know this to be true. Keep going. Finally, fuel. Fuel is very important in the freight business. It's one of our main expense, and it's what keeps us going. The final advice would be to stop worrying about nothing and everything and find what fuels us. Inspiring author and coach Bob Proctor claims in his book, You Were Born Rich, that worrying is very counterproductive. Worrying very seldomly solves anything, but it uses massive amounts of time and energy. So here we are. What fuels us? Let me step out of you and give you some hints to have something to walk away with. Love, happiness, family, joy, friends, pleasure, work well done, good food, good people. These are all jet fuels on you. When we fuel from these, our best self appears into this world. Worries, on the other hand, disappear, and then we can take on and accomplish whatever we set out to do. Our life is great at 45. Keep going. Let's talk again in 20 years. Warmest regards.
Francois, thank you very much. Our next speaker today is Andre Beaulieu. Andre is the Director of Sales at J.D. Irving in St. John, New Brunswick, where he oversees all sales, marketing, and transportation for the Sawmill Group. Andre has been with J.D. Irving now for over 23 years. He was born and raised in Edmundston, New Brunswick, and has 2 children, aged 25 and 27. Andre graduated from the University of Moncton with a business degree and has obtained his Certified Management Accounting designation. About 5 years ago, Andre became and still is the co-chairman of the Lumber Property Steering Committee, which is a subcommittee of the National Lumber Grading Association. Andre enjoys travel and the outdoors. He particularly tries to find time for boating, flying, downhill skiing, and hunting. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Andre Beaulieu with a letter to his younger self.
That was 30 years ago. And if you notice, I'm sitting in the middle. So this is my father on your left, and my brother on the right. And I'd convinced my father to give me his office and to let me work out of that area because I was a cocky kid that thought he knew everything. So anyway, and I had maybe I had an ego also. But success for me was always easy. And what I can tell you is there's nothing like a few failures to bring you down to earth. So if I were to send a letter to myself, this is what I would say. Park your ego at the door. Understand that life is an everlasting learning curve. And you'll always learn every day. The other thing, too, is make sure you stay positive. Don't let the negativeness pull you down. If I were to give myself advice on what behaviors I need to do in order to succeed, I would talk about communication. Be an expert in communication. And the big thing is learn to listen. We don't listen enough. Build relationships, that's another one. Make sure you find a few good mentors with people that have your best in mind, because you can't do it yourself. Learn to negotiate. Find a win-win. Coming out with the best deal all the time doesn't really cut it all the time. So make sure there's a win-win. Right, Michelle? Understand your KPIs. To me, that is critical. So what I try to teach the people I work with is that if you're driving on the road and the speed limit's 110, you can go 120 and nobody's going to even look at you. If you want to go 130, well, then you're taking a risk. But 120, if you don't push yourself, somebody else is going to do it and be there ahead of you. So learn to push yourself, but understand your KPIs. What do you need to have in order to get where you want to be going? Learn to build teams. I'm very lucky. I have the best team to work with in the industry. There's a few of them here, but I say that point blank. I do not have to be in the office for the work to get done. There's a competition in the office of who gets in before Andre. And when I get in there in the morning, I got millennials that are there at work and that they'll give you their reports. And at 7:30, there's a buzz on in the office. And the old guys coming in are playing catch-up. So that's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I was able to teach that to these young kids here. But build your teams. And then the easiest one of all, it's the hardest lesson that I had to learn. come in early, and stay late. You do that, it's easy. You'll put your time in. And if you do all that, Andre, you'll succeed. And you'll love it. And 30 years after, I love every minute of it. P.S. Watch the booze and don't F up. Time goes fast, and you got to enjoy every minute of it. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Andre. Kyle Little is the Chief Operating Officer at Sherwood Lumber in Long Island, New York. Sherwood Lumber is a national leader, innovator, and solution provider to the lumber and building materials industry, specializing in lumber and panel products. Kyle was born and raised in Northeast Pennsylvania. He has a Bachelor of Science degree as well as a degree in finance and management. He lives in Center Point, Long Island with his wife of 16 years and their 3 younger children. As we can see here, Kyle is a 4th-generation lumberman who's been exposed to all aspects of the lumber business, from sawmilling to retail, and has been with Sherwood Lumber now for 10 years. Kyle's run a marathon and many half marathons, and enjoys cycling and golf, but spends a lot of time with family learning his new surroundings in Long Island. Ladies and gentlemen, Kyle's letter to his younger self.
Well, that marathon actually was the best half and worst half in the same race, so it was a good one. So you can pick which one what that was. So as you can see, I've been in the lumber business ever since I've been born. My great-grandfather started a hardwood sawmill in northeastern Pennsylvania, and there at 3 years old in 1977, I got done with work and was taking my mom out to dinner after it, so you can say we had a really good time. But, and then I must have gotten in trouble at age 17, and my dad made me, get ready for some loads, ready for the retail business, what have you. So this business, and writing a letter to myself, I should have listened to my English teacher in the 12th grade or in high school. Just writing a letter is a little bit difficult, not necessarily something I was really good at. So as my team and colleagues and many of my vendors and possibly my customers know, I'm really good at bullet points, so I could go through those bullet points pretty well. But some of the things that you think about of what you, in reflection of what you could have done or what you would have done throughout the years, probably wouldn't have been that much different because of those basic kind of ethics, core values that you've grown up with your whole life. It's probably really more about timing. It's just like when trading in the lumber market, it's not about picking the bottom. That usually happens by mistake, or selling at the top is usually by mistake. But most of that timing in the marketplace is really what defines the really, really great buyers and sellers as opposed to not. And so in my letter or my bullet point to myself, I kind of looked at 3 main topics or 3 main things that I felt would drive success, and not only from a standpoint of success and how that timing is done in certain parts of my career, but one of the things that people that know me know that I love to play golf, and I like to do a lot of different things, but golf was something that drove me at a very, very young age. And when I was starting to play golf in high school and then in college and what have you, I was always looking for that perfect swing, and spent many hours on the range trying to figure that out, and then trying to figure out the perfect putting stroke and all these different things. And it just dawned on me at one time. It's like, this whole acronym of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Just think about 1 or 2 different things that might go out there and you can use on every specific swing, and just get up there and hit it. Because it doesn't matter where it goes, it just means that it goes, and you're gonna go find it and hit the next shot anyway. So hopefully it's down the middle, it might be in the woods, it might not. But one of the things that I think people have noticed through the years, specifically what I played with, it doesn't matter where I hit it, I don't get frustrated, I just go out there and hit it. But I remember my dad always saying to me, just get up and hit it and find it. And I always got really pissed off at a really young age, but it was a really, really great lesson. So simplicity. Break down those complex challenges into their most basic form. So now when I go swing a golf club, I think of 2 things. Keep your head down and follow through. My head down means I know it's gonna go forward. Follow through means it's gonna get usually closer to where it's supposed to go to than it's not to, than it was intended. So keep it simple, stupid. Very, very important part of accelerating that potential success or eliminating that potential failure. Number 2, always listen to your parents every time. That was really tough, as Andre said. Many of us, specifically in our teenage years, as I have now children going into their teenage years, their parents don't know what the hell they're talking about, but they do. Mom, she was all about the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. Live your life by that basic principle. Dad was growing up in a Catholic family. It was always about the consequences, so it was a guilt or what have you going through that process. So Dad was always about actions and decisions have consequences and benefits. For every action, this is his quote, for every action there will be an equal reaction. That either can be positive, that can be negative, or it can be neutral. So think about that before you go out there and make a decision or you go and act. And then number 3, the positive mindset trumps all superpowers. So I have young kids, so I'm obviously into these superhero movies lately. We just saw Captain Marvel this weekend, what have you. The best superpower that we can have as individuals, that I could have or talk to my younger self with, is thinking positively always, no matter what. We don't talk about problems in our house. We talk about challenges. We talk about opportunities. Problems is not a word that we want to go talk about. And number two, failure is essential for learning. We are going to fail more than we succeed. No matter what, we can be the most successful person in the world, but we are going to have lots of failure in our life, and we should never feel sorry for ourselves. We should just always dust it off, go out there and look at how we're going to go out there and improve on that process so we don't fail again. Be the person that raises their hand and says, I can do the hard things no matter what. If somebody's out there and asks something to do, I met Morgan last week, and I was like, I never would have thought of myself to coming and talking to anybody, and let alone a group. But when they ask the question, always be that guy that says yes. Always give your best effort. Make today better than yesterday, no matter what. If every one of us can go out there 365 days a year and say that I made today better than yesterday, the sky's the limit. There really is no limit. Think big. So go big or go home. I mean, there's home run hitters. There's guys that bat for average, what have you. You have to know when you need to go out there and hit, bunt for that single. But you should never think less than going out there and hitting that home run. My son came up to me the other day and asked Dad, and this is another golf analogy, but he's this kid, very, very bright, but he always aims to the minimum amount of effort to get an A. So 92 average is an A in his school. He's just figuring out how he can get to a 90, 92. Oh, Dad, it's a 91.7. It rounds up to a 92. I'm like, Drew, what are you talking about? What do you do when you go play golf? Do you go on there at the first tee and hoping that you're going to make a double bogey? Or do you think about getting par? Make your goal something that you're going to hit. And if you do better than that, it's going to provide you a much, much better room. Always ask yourself, what can you do better than you did yesterday, today, tomorrow, what have you. Feedback, constructive criticism is essential for growth. Align yourself with people you can trust. Align yourself with people that you don't care what they say in regard to they need to be blunt and to the point, and don't take anything personally. Go out there and learn from it. Focus on what you can control. This is a big one, and if we can do this, if I could have done this at a much, much earlier age, I used to always get worried about what other people thought or said, what have you. Specifically in high school, I was a gawky 135-pound, 6'2" guy, probably the same height as I was here from 8th grade till now. Maybe I'm a little wider now, but the whole thing was I always worried about what if I did this, what would somebody say, what would they do, what have you. If I went and offered Andre a cheap load of lumber, what would he say? He'd take it because I said it was okay. But the whole fact is that you cannot worry about that. You have to go out there and live by those basic morals, based by those specific core values that you have built over the years by your reputation of being true and honest, and go out there and just control what you can control. Don't worry about all the noise. And change is inevitable. Change happens every day, every minute, every second. And you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. In this environment in the lumber world and parenthood and what have you, there's no guide. There's no textbook that you can go out there and figure out what you want to go out there and accomplish. And understand that in most cases, all of us are thrown into the deep end of the pool with very small life preserver. We either need to learn how to tread water or we don't, or we drown. Understand that change is there and it will be there all the time. And then when all things, you can't figure it out, go back to what made you really well. Go ask mom and dad. So thank you very much. Thank you, Nicholson Cates and NAWLA, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today.
Kyle, that was great. Thank you. My mom put a magnet on the fridge when I was a teenager, I think to teach me a lesson that said, better ask your teenager now while they still know everything. And, even when your parents do that, you're still like, oh, they're leaving that on the fridge, so you do learn a lesson from it. Our next speaker today is Scott Parker. Scott is the newly appointed Executive Director of the North American Wholesale Lumber Association. You may find it interesting to note, if you didn't already know, that NAWLA is the longest-standing lumber association in America and was founded over 125 years ago. Scott was born and raised in Greater Chicago. He has a degree in journalism from the University of Illinois and an MBA from DePaul University. And he's also a certified association executive. He's married with 3 children, and I think you can say that Scott is a bit of a Rolling Stones fan. When he takes his 14-year-old son to his first Stones concert this coming June, it'll be Scott's 51st time seeing Mick and the boys. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see if Scott's letter can get some satisfaction for his younger self.
Hi, thank you for having me. I've met many of you over the last couple months. I'll meet many more of you, I hope, over the next couple days. It's very humbling for me to have 8 months in the industry to be around many of you who have great legacy families and legacies in the industry. Here we go with my letter. Dear young Scott, I write this letter at a pivotal time in our life. As I write this, our professional life is so outstanding. I've worked my way up the professional association world to be an executive director of an amazing association with an amazing group of volunteers and members who are so passionate about the industry and the future of industry. It really is second to none. I'm lucky to work with an amazing staff. They're passionate about the work they do for our association and each other. They care about each other. They think about each other. They think, what can we do better? There are no I's with our team, and I've quickly realized that. There are only we's. I'm learning so much each day, much more than I ever expected, about our industry, about myself, and about the association world that I thought I had already mastered. I continue to lean on past colleagues and friends for advice, for laughs, and often to roll our eyes. That is something I'm telling you. Learn and laugh every day. Learn from everyone. Looking back, I've been so lucky to have so many great people in my life from my very first job out of college. They've all cared about me, not only about the work I did, but about what I wanted to do. Looking back, I'm so lucky that they pushed me forward when I wanted to say no. I remember looking at my boss and saying, are you crazy? You're going to send me to China for a quarter of my year moving forward? When I came back after 3 months, he said, get used to Illinois, but not too long. You're going to go to India for 3 months. It was a wonderful thing. Being able to visit over 20 countries in this life has been a life-shaping adventure. Whatever becoming worldly means, I feel like I've hit it. The amazing cultures, food, traditions, way of life, and way of work have helped me become not only a better employee, but a way better person. No one ever grows up wanting to be an association management person. We were lucky enough to make some networking connections in college and an internship that had me get a job 6 months before I graduated from school. Mom and Dad were very happy for us, but more importantly, they were happy for them knowing I wasn't going to be moving back home. Networking will be the theme of your life. It helped me get interviews and jobs. Most that I have obtained have come through this. It has also helped me hire staff that otherwise I would not have known much about. As I told you earlier, our professional life is very outstanding, but it could not be without an amazing personal life. Being married to Anna Maria is amazing. Every day I learn more and more from her. Never forget how you would feel when you'd get to see her or when she would come down to visit your college when you were trying to convince her to date you. She is your spouse, your partner, and now your mother of 3. What you don't know is that in October of 2018, you will be hit with the biggest challenge of your life. You will find out that your 10-year-old daughter has terminal brain cancer. I will never forget being told this and trying to explain this to everyone who cares about us. We're doing everything we can for Olivia and fighting with everything we have. But through all this, we're continuing to do what I told you earlier: love, care, and get to know people. Our family, friends, and work colleagues have all been so wonderful to us. I truly believe this, and I can always see it in their eyes. This has taught me how absolutely amazing the human nature is and how great people can be to you. All of this has taught me to enjoy every day. It has taught me not to judge people. You never know what they are bringing to the table and how it infects their daily lives. You are always going to be challenged, and take the challenges by the proverbial horns and enjoy it and win it. Continue to motivate yourself. You've always been a great motivator of yourself and have been told you're a great motivator and mentor of kids and colleagues alike. You would be shocked that parents and kids often ask to be on your team because you make it fun. That is unbelievable to my younger self. You will find that people working for you enjoy working for you. You will be shocked at how many of your colleagues have changed jobs to follow you to another job to continue to work for you. But always remember the following: love what you do, care about what you do, care about the people you are around, network, network, and network, and continue learning. In the end, always be kind and smile. It's good for the spirit, and know the kindness of a smile that you'll always be remembered for. Thank you guys for coming, and I appreciate the opportunity to meet all of you the next couple days.
Thank you, Scott, and thoughts and prayers. Our final presenter this afternoon is Hugues Simone. He is the president of Barrette Wood in Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Quebec. From its roots as a small company in Kpis in northern Quebec, Barrette has grown over the past 50 years to become one of North America's largest wood and vinyl product manufacturers. Hugues was born and raised in a small town of less than 900 people just south of Montreal. He currently lives in Austin, Quebec, with his wife and 4 children ranging in ages from 10 to 19. Hugues learned his English in Jamaica through an exchange program in high school. He later graduated from university with an accounting degree, and since then earned his CPA designation. Hugues began his lumber career as an auditor at CP Forest Products many years ago. Hugues attained his position as president of Barrette Wood 6.5 years ago. Additionally, Hugues is a member of the Softwood Lumber Board. In his spare time, Hugues is an expert telemark skier and has run several triathlons. Ladies and gentlemen, we're lucky to have a letter from Hugues Simone to his younger self.
When I look at my pictures, I was born for the lumber business because I can fish and I can hunt, which is what most of us do anyways. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this, and sorry for my Jamaican accent. I'll try to make it easy to understand. But yes, my parents did send me to Jamaica when I was 16. I was the only white kid in school. So if you want to talk about racism, I can tell you a lot about it. That's a long, long time ago, and it's something that stayed with me all my life because I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. And the most fun part about writing this letter was really to call my mom and say, I need some old pictures of myself. Because in today's age, we have an iPhone. I don't even, put my pictures in order. I just take pictures and then you don't look at them anymore. And then my parents now live about 20 minutes from where I work in Saint-Jean. And she came for lunch with me and my dad. And I was listening to some of the comments with, spend time with family and so on. My dad is 82, my mom is 79. It was so much fun for them to spend probably 10 hours to find like 2 pictures. And the one thing I learned in Kpis is if you catch a pike, you have to throw it back because it's not a good fish. And for the people that have come to our mill, we go walleye fishing and the pike doesn't even make it to the boat. So anyways, here's a letter to myself, which like most of you guys, I had a lot of fun to write. So here it is. Dear younger Hug. So it's not Hugh, it's not Hugus, it's not you. In Texas, they say huge, it's Hug. So dear Hug, I truly hope you read this before you make too many mistakes. I'm writing you from the future. It's pretty nice up here. We're February 21st, 2019. That's when I wrote it. It's 3 p.m. and it's snowing. The snowing part for me is important. I love winter. So if we have a conversation later, don't tell me is winter over yet. I can't wait for next winter. As time goes by, I often wish I knew a bunch of things that when I was younger. First, new technologies and discoveries are happening so fast that it's difficult to keep up. As you read this letter and play some Space Invader, you probably think you know about technologies. Well, let me tell you this. Space Invader sucks. It's a bad game. Same for Pac-Man. Trust me, you've seen nothing. And that so-called big TV in the living room that Dad bought last week, it sucks too. I have a 200-inch TV here. Cool, eh? Anyhow, one more thing on tech. Buy some Apple stock. And tell Dad to buy some too. Buy them every day for the next 40 years. If you do that, you don't need to read the remaining of this letter. Just kidding. What I'm about to share with you is much more important than money. Some basics. Over the years, I concluded that if you do these simple rules and you follow them, you'll have a great life. First one. Look at your life as if it will be projected in a museum. Make it a fun museum. Lots of experiences. Do things you have passion for. Follow your instincts. You have a pretty good one. Now, in my museum, I will have Jamaica for sure. And yes, I went to high school. It was a fun school. And the other thing that I want to share with you is how I started in the lumber industry. As it was mentioned, I studied accounting, a bit like Chris. And I never thought I'd be buying, selling, and I'd be in the forest industry. But the first mandate that CP Forest gave me was to go on Vancouver Island, if there's any people from BC. I had to do an audit in Ladysmith, where there was a small sawmill. And that sawmill had a wood chip problem. The paper mill, or it was a pulp mill, I believe, down there, was on strike. So they didn't know what to do with their wood chips, so they asked us to take our cars off the parking lot. And I did spend 6 weeks there. And they filled the parking lot with wood chips. And I'm like, wow, this smells good. I mean, I'm a kid, right? I'm 18 years old. And ever since, I stayed in the lumber industry. So I went from a chip pile in a parking lot to a chip pile in Kpis 3 years ago with 106,000 tons on the ground. Second one, ask questions. Lots of them. Make sure you understand the answers. If you don't, ask them differently. You're a smart kid. So if you don't understand, chances are the answer is not complete. And even more important, listen. Listen to the answer. If you don't listen, there's no point asking a question. Third one, be fair, don't cheat. Work with others with a long-term vision. Build some alliances, they will last. I think this is pretty true in this industry where a lot of people, they go from business to friendship and do both. I can look at many of you in this room and say, yeah, we have a business relationship, but also we're friends. And not many industries today, you'll pick up the phone and call and talk. People exchange emails. I think we're fortunate that we have an industry that deals with humans, and this was mentioned by many of you. I mean, let's make sure that we keep that, because once you start just sending emails and not having relationship, it's not a fun museum. It's boring. It's like any other industry. Work hard. Do more. Follow your dreams. Don't be afraid. There's always a solution. There are many ways to skin a cat. Try them all. And I could give you thousands of examples on this, and I will use one that happened to my coworker 2 years ago, coming back from a NAWLA convention in, I believe it was Las Vegas. Where's Hector? I can't see with the light. He's over there. So we're coming back with the boot. You know how big those boots are? And Hector really wanted to go because he wanted to live some of his dream to see the Hoover Dam. And they got to the airport, it was late. It's too late for check-in. He has the boot. Hector managed to get the boot. You know how big those boots are, right? Through security, carry on. I challenge any one of you to try to do that. Everything is possible. When you want to do something, there's always a solution. Hector brought back the boot on board, and he was traveling economy class. The last one, but not the least, love your family. They're priceless. When you have some headwinds in your life, ask your family. They will always support you. And if a member of your family needs help, you must step up to help him. It's important. Remember the museum. You want all the visitors to say, wow, I must follow my dreams too. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our session. Thank you very much to our speakers, and thank you to the Montreal Wood Convention for providing us with the opportunity to be here. And thank you very much for all of you for attending. We hope you learned, most importantly, and enjoyed the presentations. And enjoy the networking to follow. Thanks.